Hello and welcome back to 50 Years of Spartans and Beyond. I'm John Schwartz, and joining me today is one of the greatest athletes in the history of Case Western Reserve, Leslie Kindling. Leslie is a two-time national champion, winning the NCAA titles in the high jump at the 1995 NCAA Indoor Track and Field Championships and in the heptathlon at the 1995 Outdoor Championships. In addition, she told 9 All-America honors, 7 UAA titles, and 16 All-UAA honors. And that doesn't even take into account some of the NCAC events that Leslie has won over the years. If that wasn't enough, she was also a 3-time letter winner in soccer. Leslie, thank you for joining us again today. Really appreciate it. And if you could, just start off and tell us how you came to Case Western Reserve. What brought you to the school?
Well, John, thank you so much, first of all, for having me. I appreciate this opportunity to speak with you. So what got me to interested in Case was my father had gone to Case Institute of Technology. I knew it was a great school for engineering, wanted to pursue that as a career at the time, and also wanted to be able to continue to play soccer and run track and field. This was a great school. It gave me that opportunity to do that.
Yeah. I was reading a little bit about you, and I found an article that the UAA actually wrote about you a few years back, and it mentioned that you switched majors from aerospace engineering to biomedical engineering once you came here. Can you talk about making that switch, the decision behind it, and how that served you later on in life?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had always been interested in aviation, and aviation really drew my attention and got me focused in engineering. But once I got more involved in studying how to become a better athlete, especially on the track and field side, the biomechanics of how the body works and looking at using engineering principles and applying them to the human body really seemed fascinating to me. And when I found out that there was a major that did that, it was an easy transition for me.
I'm sorry, go on.
So with that, though, I still never lost my love of aviation. And when I got into grad school and started looking at different things to do next, an Air Force major introduced me to a Navy recruiter who told me about aerospace physiology in the Navy, something that would combine my interest in aviation and my love about how the body moves and the science behind that. So that all set me up for where I am today as an aerospace and operational physiologist for the Navy.
Yeah, and you talk about movement of the body, and obviously all track and field events certainly have that aspect to them, but maybe the one more than most, and the one that has the most interesting story about it, is the high jump with the Fosbury flop, and how people did the high jump one way, essentially like a big hurdle for years, and then all of a sudden someone figured out, hey, if I go over, Dick Fosbury says, if I go over backwards, I could clear it at a higher height. Was that something that you think your passion for track and field that drew you even closer to that as a major?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thinking about the center of mass and how it can travel below the bar while you go over the bar, that just seems like, I don't know, it's very cool to me. So yeah, definitely the high jump, that was one of my big interests in seeing those principles there. Also, like, you run towards the bar at this arc, so that the centrifugal forces, all of that, just really fascinating as a young student at the time, trying to put that all together and apply it to being able to do well in that event.
We obviously still hear a ton about Coach Sudek, and we've had a couple of athletes on already who've spoken about their experience with Coach Sudek. I want to ask you what it was like from your perspective competing for him, because you hear stories about him, you hear so much, but he's now hasn't been with us for a while now. Can you tell us a bit about Coach Sudek and your experience with him?
Yeah, what I will always remember, and I still point out to people, sitting in his office and having him tell me that the most important thing that you will take away from Case is not your degree. It is the people that you meet, those connections that you make. Um, and he was a big part of making those connections that I take with me today. That's what I'll always remember about Dudek. Yeah.
I'd like to, if you can, dive into your 2 national championships here. And I'd like to start with the high jump at the 1995 Indoor Championships. Do you remember that at all? Do you have any memory of competing? Do you remember, what jump you set your mark on? Do you have any memory of kind of what was going through your mind during that national championship?
I have some memories of that. In my main memory is that I didn't know it was over. When I had won, because I'd won on misses.
Wow. How about, let's go into the multi-event as well. And being a multi-event athlete is its own level of kind of grueling, competition. It's certainly outdoors multiple days. I think, I don't know, indoors might only be one day, I guess. But, talk about doing that and mentally getting yourself prepared to go into this event that is just so physically stressful that that's so easy to wear down.
Um, so with the heptathlon and the 2 days of competition, I think it by itself was manageable. What really became a challenge for me was when I had the open high jump to compete against while I was in the middle of throwing the javelin for the heptathlon, and trying to bounce back and forth between those and being stressed out about maybe missing a throw or missing a jump because I wasn't there at the time my name was called. But Coach Evans was phenomenal about making sure I was as calm as I could be, that things were taken care of, that things were laid out ahead of time, that I knew where I needed to be, and would give me the guidance of like, all right, it's okay if you miss this throw, or it's all right if you miss that jump because you've got a good one already started. Like, you planned it out to like, all right, get a low height in the high jump so you're good, and then if you have to skip a height, you're able to do that.
Kind of shifting to what you're doing now, would you mind telling us a little bit about how you chose a career in the Navy, and what your jobs are related to that, what you're doing, and what led up to that decision to begin that career?
Yeah, so I've always had a fascination for the military, respect for it, especially because of having interest in aviation. I had looked into going to West Point because I had a teammate on the track team who the year before had gone to West Point. So military had some interest into me there, but it was too young to make that decision, and I still had a lot of interest in going to Case. When I was in grad school, I was reintroduced to the military through Army ROTC and a lab mate in the biomechanics lab who was on full-time out-service training with the Air Force. He was the gentleman who introduced me to the Navy recruiter. So how I ended up where I am through a lot of happy connections and accidents. So Case gave me a good background of studies in engineering and biomechanics. I went to University of Oregon to get another perspective of biomechanics from the exercise and movement side of the house, which connected me just like Case did, was those connections that you take away most important in your life. And so meeting this, it was a major at the time, Alan Arata, in the Air Force. He introduced me to the Navy recruiter, said, while you're doing this Army ROTC in college, it's interesting, but you might want to look at the other services to see what they have. While the Army would have not necessarily guaranteed me any specific career field, with the Navy, I could apply specifically to become a medical service corps officer and an aerospace and operational physiologist. So
Cool.
knowing that I could, very cool, pick the career field that matched with my interest, apply for that, got selected, one of the 3 people they picked up at that time, went through the initial training to become a naval officer, and then more focused training to become that aerospace and operational physiologist. Got to learn the basics of aviation and fly in multiple aircraft, and I'm required to continue to fly to maintain experience, exposure, and proficiency.
Can you talk a little bit about the impact that athletics, particularly athletics at Case Western Reserve, has had on your life?
So it's given me a love and a fascination of what the body is able to do, which got me interested in the physiology career field. It's given me an outlet for the stress that we all deal with on a regular basis, and has given me a great network of people, because everywhere I go, I join in on different sports activities and meet people through that. It expands that connection that I started to build as a student at Case.
And Leslie, if you could, do you have any advice for any of our current student athletes? Anything you can, any wisdom you can impart on them?
Yeah. Gosh, that you put me on the spot. That's a tall order, right? What do I recommend? Keep these connections. Build those connections here. Look for unique opportunities, and you'll never be surprised. I'm sorry. I don't think you'll be disappointed with whatever surprises or changes or things that you hadn't considered, and these opportunities arise. Go for it, just like you go for that. You go for it every time you step on the field or dive into the pool. Just attack life with the same intensity that you attack your athletic training and your games or meets or whatever they're called. Yeah.
Leslie, thank you so much for joining us today. It's much appreciated, and it's a really fascinating story. So thank you for sharing it with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's great to talk to you and to remember back to some of the stuff that I've been working on.